Hey there. It's been a while since I've been able just to do this right here. And today, this moment right here is titled PTS and Me, or PTS Me. I can't remember now. And I'm just going to do everything I can to be as transparent as possible. And we will see what is happening. Uh, I had a very productive week last week, or when I say productive, I crossed through some areas by being able to share, mastering my energy and doing these different things. And so I've been practicing this for some time. And today I said, let me talk about PTSD, but I called it PTS Me because it was within the last couple of years, I recognized that I too had PTSD. And it took my friend Jill Cloud to say this stuff to me. And I recognized you got issues, D. And as much as knew it, and I've known it, but I didn't understand how close I was. And so you're going to probably see me do something PTSD and marriage and all this kind of stuff. And so my prayer for you today is that you would hear something that would change your life and help you deal with what you're experiencing yourself. Um, I saw, because I am an artist, I watched a lot of materials to learn things. And I looked at a documentary I hadn't seen in quite some time. Uh, and when I saw it, it reminded me of what I have experienced and what I am going through here and there. And going through this trial, this health trial of brain woundedness, literally, um, lung cancer, um, having aneurysms and having emotional outbursts and different things. My wife, she's taught maybe 2 Wednesdays ago, or maybe it was last Wednesday, but whatever she taught, I think it was probably 2 Wednesdays ago. And uh, bear with me because I have had to deal with short term memory loss and sometimes long term memory loss. And so sometimes I can't think of the name of the next person or what is happening. And I could, I can now, I couldn't tell if this was just old age, getting older, or whatever it was. Because there was used to be times I walk into a room and not even know, why'd you come into this room? I don't even know what I came here for. And so I talk to myself a lot, and I say to myself, you're getting ready to get up and go in here, grab this magic. You're going to grab this pen, and you're going to grab a pad, and then you're going to come back. And I find out if I say it out loud, I hold myself accountable so that I don't get to the place that I'm going in my own dwelling to try to figure out. And so, what the hell are you standing here for? What did you get up for? And sometimes I walk into the room that I knew I was supposed to be going to, but then I got to look around for a sense memory, something that's going to trigger me to say, oh, yeah, this is why you came in here. And I've been wanting to talk about this for a long time. And it's going to make sense, Lord willing, because I'm going to play some different clips that I've collected. And hopefully it will help you as a mother, as a father, as a husband, as a lover, as a cousin, as a grandmother, as a grandfather, as a boss, as a leader. And, you know, I'm just going to go with that. I don't have it pre-planned. The only thing I did was make sure I had all the order of the videos set up. And you'll see me look at my calling apparatus, which is my telephone, where I am able to, and I found this, this phone was lost in this house for a year and a half, this phone right here. And meaning I put it down, I had no idea where it was. So now I've lost my other one that I had. So it, with the way the world works, or the way the flow works, I couldn't find it. And so I'm going to use this phone, which I haven't used in God knows how long, and make some calls. I'm working with Pepper. And so I thank Pepper for showing up, and I'm going to make it, Lord willing, happen. And so I'm hoping that you will get something, and that I'm sure you will. And I'm hoping to be able to cover this, because we are all in a season of anxiety and fear and unknown and uncertainty. And I'm just going to be as forthcoming and as real as I possibly can be. And then we'll just see where we end up, and where we land, where we end up. Father, bless this time. Give someone strength to get up. Give someone strength to find their motivation. Return to me memories that I need to be able to remember, so that I can share the blessings of my memories, and help them go to the level that they need to go to. And having said all of that, I'm just going to start. And Pepper, we're going to play PTSD. And PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. And we're going to play this because some of this material gave me permission to do what I do. And meaning over the years to be able to talk the way I talk. Right now, my back is hurting because I've been bent over trying to fix this iPad and all the different things and make it work. And I have a little pain in my back, but I'm letting it use me. My muscles use me and propel me forward. And I'll deal with that once I finish doing what I'm doing right now, Lord willing. And I just had the thought, and I'm looking forward to a good dinner snack, or snack dinner, whichever you want to call it, so that I can eat. All I had today was some oatmeal. And right now, sometimes I would not eat before I ministered or talked, because it would take the edge off. But I got a date with a plate. And it's going to be well worth it. Having said all of that, let's go with number one, PTSD. And I will hopefully make these things, not hopefully, I'm going to connect it as much as I possibly can, so we can all be on the same page. If we can, let's play clip number one, please.
So what causes PTSD? Why do our brains sometimes remember the very things we'd most like them to forget? Emotional events leave long-lasting traces in memory. That's why we all know just where we were at 8:30 a.m. on September 11th, but not on September 10th. What gives these memories such staying power? When people experience intense emotions, their bodies release stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline, and some scientists now believe that these hormones help burn in memories of the events that caused the emotions in the first place.
And so, just like what happened, I've had this pen out ready to write, and I think it dried out. And so, I'm not going to even try to get up and find another pen. I'm just going to stay where I'm at right now because toss it right there. And I'm going to do this raw with memory and everything. And so he said, what causes PTSD? And sometimes some things stay in our memory based upon the emotions we experience. I can tell you where I was on September the 11th, 9/11, when it happened. And I can tell you that I spoke with Glenn Brooks on that day because I really believe his birthday is around September the 11th. And I remember that whole tragic thing going down. And I know exactly where I was because I can see things that took place that day. And so these emotional or traumatic events put a stain or a impressed memory on your brain. And because I've studied the brain for quite a few years for my own purposes, I was able to understand that on September the 11th, I remember that I'm looking for my water. Yeah, I remember that on September the 11th, where I was, and I was in this house. And I would like to move forward and let's continue to play, Pepper. Let's go ahead and play. I don't know if I paused that or whatever. What did I do? If I didn't pause it, I can just tell you that I have come to the understanding that when you go through an emotional time, a traumatic time, your mind is going to get a time stamp. And so I don't know if we finished that video or not. And if we did or if we didn't, let's keep playing. But I'm talking about post-traumatic stress disorder, which means you don't have a certain order in your life, and it's not just a mental diagnosis. It is, wait a minute, something's happening with me. Just like some people are, I'm gonna think of the name right now. Some people are manic depressant. Some people go through many different things because of the trauma they experience. Post meaning afterwards. Post traumatic depression. Depression meaning your low mood, your inability to be motivated. And I had to go back and restudy this, even though I thought I knew it, because I realized that even while I'm married and got my best friend and everything, I was still having PTSD because you can have an illness, you can have a serious illness, you can have a loss of a marriage, you can have a fight in terms of what you've gone through, and you can go to war. And so, if we can, and I'll call the person Pepper, if we can push play, because I don't know if we played the end of that or not. And if we didn't, I'm going to go to number 2, because when I saw this man, I saw myself years ago. And I just so happened to run back across it as I was trying to find my place. And let me tell you all something. I had one of my good friends, Ed, tell me, I got your back. We got your back in this time. And I remember crying because I was like, I can't believe I'm going to have to now trust some people to help me make it through this. And so if we can, Pepper, let's play the video and then I'll know where we are.
For Bob, moving to California to live with his mother-in-law has left him demoralized.
You guys gonna go outside and play?
Pepper,
Lori
pause.
and the kids are trying.
He went to California to move with his mother-in-law, and he was used to being the point man. He was used to being in charge. He was used to being a serviceman, literally a military serviceman. But now he had to go and stay with his mother-in-law, with his wife and his kids, because of the way his life got paused and it got dealt with. And so now he's demoralized because here was somebody who didn't need help, but now they need help. And so, Pepper, we're going to pick it up and keep playing, please.
To adjust to a new routine and a new school. But Bob's PTSD holds each of them in its orbit.
Pepper, pause. When I see him sitting there, I see myself. I've seen myself in many times where I just can't move. I am caught in a trance, and a trance of pain or whatever it is. And the narration said, and everybody else orbits around him, because when people like me, who are the point person, when we go down or we stop, everybody else has to stop, because we're used to being the glue. We're used to being the catalyst, or at least being a part of it. But when we can't function with family or function with friends, function with all these different things, we really get thrown off. I'm looking for my pen, but I'm not going to be perfectionistic. I'm going to remember what I'm talking about. If we can play, let's go.
Welcome to California. Welcome back. Welcome back. Here we go. Okay, so today we're gonna talk about Gabriel and how he's doing in first grade, and he's only been here for a little bit of time, but he's transitioned well. So he's showing some good leadership skills with his peers, with both the boys and the girls, and he seems to be happy. And if he needs help, he has no problem in asking me.
Hey, try to do it quietly,
Sarah,
please.
don't throw those, please.
Sarah, can you make a happy face with that?
Can you
With the yellow?
How about being quiet? That'd be something new.
Oh, there's just so much to do. Okay, no more dumping it in. Just
There
okay.
you go. Perfect, Gabriel.
All right.
Sarah,
Okay. We'll clean those up later. Okay?
sorry about that.
That's okay. I have 20 of them in here.
I cannot stand loud.
Pepper, pause. He says, I cannot stand loud. And here they are in a parental counseling session to be dealing with their children and everything. And he is now annoyed. When you have PTSD, you can't overlook certain triggers. You can't overlook certain sounds and certain behaviors. And at this point, he's showing his displeasure and his irritation. And I like this word because I have had to really work on overcoming his frustration. And so he's now saying, can you try to be quiet? Can you do this? And these are children, and they're in a classroom that has toys and all these different things, but he needs order, because when you have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, when disorder shows up, like my wife, I've got some, I don't have them here. Oh yeah, I have. I'm not going to grab it because I'm comfortable right here. I've got, when I used to go to the range, they had headphones, and I put them on, and it blocks out sound. I used to I don't have them anymore, but I had a pair of Boss headphones that blocked out noise reduction. I can't remember what they're called, and certain sounds. So even when I come into the kitchen, if my wife is in the kitchen and she is moving stuff around or doing things and drops a pan or a plate or does this, I'm startled. The other night, she was sitting in her chair and she was asleep, but then she started coughing or something, and it startled me. And I looked over like, what the hell? What's happening? And this is in the middle of the night because sound startled me, and I just can't. I don't like loud. Or if I was driving and a motorcycle came past me, that engine passing me startled me, and it would send me to a space of disorder. And you can see he apologized, I'm sorry, but he's recognizing he's trying to control the environment. And I don't think he's wrong, but when you have PTSD, you lose access to certain skills that you would normally have had. And so let's play, please.
Noise sends my temper and my blood pressure up.
He's doing really well. And his writing, I'll show you a little bit of his writing.
The hardest part about post-traumatic stress for a married woman is the focus is on him. But part of me feels like it's not okay for me to break down.
Pause.
Because
what she's saying is that when we who were once exemplifying leadership skills and being a parent and doing the right thing, she said that it's hard for her because she feels like she has to be there to help him. And let's keep playing, please.
the focus is on helping him and lifting him up and getting him through this time. He's so fragile right now. This time has to be about getting him through.
Pause. I didn't realize how much of a friend Jill was to me, because here is a woman who loves him, and she's now understanding I got to be there for him. Well, if you are a caretaker or you are someone who is in love with someone who has a mental disorder or has a illness, or who you have to help them, you lose a part of your life because you all had a certain life, but now there's loss that's taking place. And it's hard for the spouses of people with PTSD to really put it into place, because you realize I need to be able to help him or help her, but it's also causing me to have to put my life on hold. And here she is attempting to do this. And I found out with my own wife, she too was having to lose a part of herself just to be able to help me deal with the different things. I've had aneurysms, I've had all kinds of things, and being shut down. And when I'm shut down, she was shut down, because there's a part of me she had an access to, but she didn't have access to that part of me anymore because I didn't have access to that me anymore. And I remember my friends talking to me, and they were saying something. I said, brother, I can't beat him. I'm not the man I used to be. I don't have that cognitive ability that I used to have. And I was used to being able to multitask and be on different levels and do different things. My high came from creativity, but once I went through this season, especially after 2017, once I suffered having to go through scans and illnesses and all these different things, I too left my friend, my wife out there, and left some of my friends out there because I could no longer be on point. Pepper, play.
Getting him to a place where he feels like he's on solid ground again. Then I'll have my time.
I love you, baby.
PTSD threatens to destroy everything Bob cares about. As he looks for a new job in California, the obstacles seem almost insurmountable.
Pause right there. So watch this. He's now having to start over again. This COVID has made many, millions of people to have to restart again, to reinvent, to start over. And for me, when it just helps me to see that, because I'm able to pick things up because of some experiences that I had, is that he is completely overwhelmed because this is not what you planned for. This is not, you didn't plan, you saw your life going a whole nother way, but now you're now having to give up a part of yourself. And once you're giving up that part of yourself, you become demoralized. And he was demoralized and he was stunned and he was in shock. And so we're going to go to, he wants help, and we want to go to the next one. Let's play, please.
The counselor up in Reno made me promise him I would look into this program that they have. But you know what? I'm just not there yet. I'm not scared of it. I just don't.
He said, I'm just not there yet. And we can start this video over again when we come back, Pepper. We're going to push play again because he was at a job fair and and the counselor there was saying, hey, listen, you're going to have to do this and you need to go through some therapy. Now, let me tell you all something. This week last week, sometimes when you're social distancing, at least for me, I lose track of days. I can't tell if it's Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, you name it. And for him, he had to recognize that he was someplace. And I remember the first time I saw this interview, he says, I'm just not there yet. He wants to be better, but I'm not there yet. And for someone who has struggled with, and I don't think I should struggle with something as severe as him. He's a war veteran. I recognize that, I had too much judgment when I heard that before, but then I had to go through it again and understand he was saying, I'm just not there. I'm not ready to make a major about face in my life and to change some stuff. And so, Pepper, let's go ahead and continue to play, please.
The counselor up in Reno made me promise him I would look into this program that they have. But you know what? I'm just not there yet. I'm not scared of it. I just don't want to. I'm not afraid of it. I just
pause. He says, I'm not scared of it. I just don't want to. I'm not afraid of it. I want to get better. Well, this is the psychological hoops you take yourself through and the mental hoops you jump through, because he knows what would be the right thing to do for himself, for his family, for his wife, for his lover, all these different things. But at the same time, he has the intellectual capability to say, I'm just not there yet. And that was for me when I I used to be extremely overweight, where I was weighing 365, 75 pounds. And I would say, oh, I know what to do to lose weight. I just don't feel like it. And that was my way of giving myself a psychological reasoning and excuse not to do what needed to be done. Pepper, let's go ahead and play, please.
I'm not afraid of it. I relive a lot of them all the time anyway. I don't want to go relive them again. You know, I just ain't there yet. It might be a good program, but I'm all for doing something that might help me, but I'm just not there yet.
Pause. Now, if his wife could hear what he was saying, she would say, darling, you got to be there. We need you. We need you. We need you to be present. I stopped and got emotional because my partner, she told me, I need you, Deron. I need you to be present. And I didn't realize that I had dropped out. And I later learned that part of going and grieving is taking yourself out of the flow of things, detachment. And this time when I saw this, which is years later, this same interview, my wife, she said, Deron, we need you. I need you. And I couldn't find it. I lost me. Let's push play, please.
I don't know what's going to get me there, but I'm not there yet.
Listen, he says, I don't know what's going to get me there, but I'm not there yet. In order for me to get free, I had to follow what my counselor told me. And she told me that you got to be able to deal with these things. I had another counselor who told me, I'll never forget, he told me to go talk with a special person in my life. And that's when I realized I had asked the people that I pastored to do certain things. And when he asked me years ago, Dr. Ben Ellis, he asked me years ago, did you talk to that person? Did you talk and deal with that? And I didn't. And I realized I didn't want to. I didn't want to face the emotions of that moment. I didn't want to go through that. And I realized when I had to sit back there in his office again, he had asked me to do something, I still hadn't done it. And I felt so ashamed. But I didn't want to face it. I didn't want to open that door. Let's play, please.
The treatment that Bob just can't bring himself to try is the treatment that saved Warren King's life. By 2008, Warren had given up on the treatments he was getting. Then he came across an ad in a newspaper.
I'm reading in the paper, and I see this University of Pennsylvania, PTSD, come to 3535 Market Street. So I said to myself, oh, here come another fluke. Here come another VA. You know what I mean? They're going to give me medications. But they didn't.
At the University of Pennsylvania, researchers were developing a form of CBT called prolonged exposure therapy. Instead of hiding from his traumatic memories, this therapy would require Warren to embrace them, to
Pepper,
relive
let's
them over.
pause. And we're going to replay this clip, or if we can take it back just a little bit. When you've had a lot of pain, you've already come to some conclusions, and you're already at the end and saying, "Oh, this ain't gonna be nothing. This ain't gonna be nothing." But he had to look at this stuff and prolong exposure. He had to expose himself to things that would trigger, and we'll deal with that in a second. And so, Pepper, let's go ahead and play that wherever you can pick it up at. And if we get it, even if we start it from the beginning of that, I want them to get an idea of what this brother was going through. Go ahead.
See this University of Pennsylvania, PTSD, come to 3535 Market Street. So I said to myself, oh, here come another fluke. Here come another VA. You know what I mean? They're going to give me medications. But they didn't.
At the University of Pennsylvania, researchers were developing a form of CBT called prolonged exposure therapy. Instead of hiding from his traumatic memories, this therapy would require Warren to embrace them, to relive them over and over again until his fear of them diminished.
Pause. And we'll start that again because I read that. That's the first time I read that article that was on that paper that they showed in the interview. And it says, have you been attacked? Are you scared? And in order for me to accept where I was emotionally, you know, being a pastor, I didn't realize. I had another counselor years ago, and he told me, he said, Pastor Duran, you don't know what your parishioners are going through. And so don't you take it personally. It was as if he had already been counseling some of the members that I was giving my life to oversee. And he had to do it. And I was scared. And fear became a dominant thing in my life. Let's go ahead and play, please.
See this University of Pennsylvania, PTSD, come to 3535 Market Street. So I said to myself, oh, here come another fluke. Here come another VA. You know what I mean? They're going to give me medications. But they didn't.
At the University of Pennsylvania, researchers were developing a form of CBT called prolonged exposure therapy. Instead of hiding from his traumatic memories, this therapy would require Warren to embrace them, to relive them over and over again until his fear of them diminished. Reliving horror isn't easy. 5 weeks into his treatment, Warren was still trying to avoid the pain.
We can do this one more time for today.
Okay. Starting to feel okay. You really gotta push it, don't you? I gotta laugh because I ain't never had nobody push me like this.
You can do this. That's why. That's why I'm pushing, because I know you can do it.
Only for you, Coach. I wish you could come here with me. I wish it. If anybody could come with, I wish you could come and see what I see.
Pause. And we'll take it back a little bit. He recognized, he said, you know, I wish you could come here and see what I could see, meaning you could come inside of my head and see some of the most horrific images I've ever seen and feel what I feel. And I used to try to do that when I was teaching, and I realized that that's why I went overboard, because I figured if I can give enough example, it would make you feel what I saw. But he recognized, he said, you're pushing me, coach. He said, I'll do it, but you're pushing me. And when my wife or a couple of my friends would ask me questions, it triggered because I didn't want to have that feeling again. And if you see that clip, he's breathing hard and he's just talking. The same way my teeth are chattering a little bit, because even to watch this with you and recall some of the things I experienced, it's traumatic. It's traumatic. And I thank God for this man's transparency, because this is a part of it. And each time I see him say this, I remember I had to learn years ago, sit in it. Don't run from it. Face it. Sit in it. Don't run from your emotions. Don't run from the energy, but sit in it. Because sometimes you don't understand. There's PTSD and then there's PTSG, post-traumatic growth. You can grow, but you first got to be able to sit in it and face it. Pepper, we're getting ready to go back and play that some more, and I will pick up if I ask you to pause. But go ahead and play that some more, and let's see where we can end up.
Time for today?
Okay. Starting to feel okay. You really gotta push it, don't you? I gotta laugh because I ain't never had nobody push me like this.
You can do this. That's why. That's why I'm pushing, because I know you can do it.
Only for you, Coach. I wish you could come here with me. I wish it. If anybody could come with, I wish you could come and see what I see.
I'm trying. I'm trying.
You know, because it's a dilly. Okay. I want to cry, but I can't cry. I feel my eyes, but I can't cry.
Pause. He said, I want to cry, but I can't cry. I want to cry, but I can't cry. There was a moment that I wouldn't allow you all to see these tears with me, because to cry was a sign of weakness. To cry was to lose a part of my manhood or my confidence. And I remember my mother and my sister, because when I was going through my health trial, I would start crying and I'd start apologizing. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do this. And they would say, let it out. But I was told, real men don't cry. Real men don't cry. For a long time, in many different ways, from many different sources. And I was embarrassed because my tears was a sign that I wasn't capable of being the man that I thought I was. Let's play, please.
What, I'm dead inside?
It's okay. You'll cry when you need to.
He said, what, am I dead inside? Because he was saying, the stuff I've experienced, I should be able to cry. But what happens is sometimes you do put that person to death. You put the real you to death, to be perfectly honest. And so when the real you is ready to access the real emotions, you can't feel, because to try to feel is to trigger this stuff to happen. Let's go to the next clip, please.
Warren needed to face his memories both in and out of his therapist's office. The movie Full Metal Jacket had always sent Warren into a panic. Now he forced himself to watch the movie again and again.
Pepper, let's pause.
It began.
We're going to play that, what you just played again when he's sitting on the couch. In order for me to deal with my own trauma, even this year, I had to make myself go look at some movies, war movies, and watch the trauma that they experienced and understand that this trauma was something I was going to need to be able to do. I'm trying to think of one of the movies I saw this year when I recognized you're going to have to go back and study trauma, Duran. And I can't think of the movie, and I'm not going to think of it now. It's the movie where Band of Brothers. Thank you. And I watched that series that appeared on one of these channels, the Band of Brothers. And I saw that whenever they went through that trauma and they went through these different things, they went through PTSD. And I had to make myself look at Duran. They were out there in war, but they were scared. They were scared to death. And the way they deal with their trauma, you have to learn how to deal with it too, because they were scared. Let's play, please.
Warren needed to face his memories both in and out of his therapist's office. The movie Full Metal Jacket had always sent Warren into a panic. Now he forced himself to watch the movie again and again. Eventually, it began to get easier.
We think that what's happening in exposure therapy is new learning. A lot of times people years ago used to think that in our work with anxiety that we were erasing a fear memory, and we know that that's not true. We're not erasing the memory, we're teaching the person new things. We're teaching them, for example, I don't need to be scared of this memory. Yes, this was a terrible thing that happened, but I don't need to be scared of it. I can go there, I can think about it, I can talk about it, and I'm okay. And that's new learning.
After 18 sessions, Warren's progress is unmistakable.
Next one. Let's do it. Thank you.
I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to say nothing about it. But you got to face it.
Do you think there are a lot of soldiers who might not even ask for help because they have kind of this sense that I'm supposed to be brave, I'm supposed to make my way through this, I'm not supposed to ask other people to help me?
Well, they're fools. They are
Pause
fools.
right there, and we're going to go back and play this clip from the beginning when he says, I didn't want to talk about it. I detached myself from close friends and people because I didn't want to talk about this. I didn't want to talk about my trial. I didn't want to talk about falling in my room because my balance was off. I didn't want to talk about how I even responded to Jill that was just out of tune. And I didn't want to share these things, but I had to follow my own philosophy and my own teachings and sit in it and say, hey, I'm going to have to talk about this. I called a friend up one day and I said, hey, man, pray for me because I'm on my way to the hospital to get these scans and get the checkup. And I said to him, I hate this. I hate it because in order to go do this, you got to face fear. And if anybody who's had to go in and get some major tests and all this kind of stuff, there's a fear that comes with a doctor's appointment sometimes. And it was a long ride, a dark one, because I was now being triggered to feel my pain. PTSD or PTS Me or PTSD and Me. Although I had the comfort of my sister, the comfort of Daryl and somebody else who may have driven me there, it was still a lot on my mind. And I had to make the decision that you got to go through this, Deron. You got to go through it. Let's play, please.
I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to say nothing about it. But you got to face it.
Do you think there are a lot of soldiers who might not even ask for help because they have kind of this sense that I'm supposed to be brave, I'm supposed to make my way through this, I'm not supposed to ask other people to help me?
Well, they're fools. They are fools. Because sometimes you need to drop that macho thing and ask for help, because if you don't ask for help, you're going to die. And that's what you're going to be, macho man? Well, you know something? The graves are full of macho men.
Let's pause right here. We're going to play that again, but now I want to tell you that I didn't see this the last time. And one, because this is wasn't where my physical condition was. But he is out planting that flag. And you can see his legs shake. You can see him a little unstable as he bends down. This time I saw it because I too have had physical problems with my walking, unstable, having my wife have to hold my arm. We went walking because I was doing my best to try to, not try, but to get myself in shape. And we went walking and we went to make a left out of the driveway, and it was a hill to go down a hill. And I started moving so fast. She was like, Deron, what you doing? Because I was jogging, because I knew I was not going to be able to control my pace, because that was the first time I walked on a hill. And I now know, keep your head back, Deron. Keep your head back, keep your weight distributed. Because as I began to walk down that hill, she said, what are you doing? And this is when it came back and said, you're going to have to tuck and roll, man. If not, you're going to really run and hurt yourself. And I was glad I played football when I was younger, because I tucked and I rolled, and I ended up laying in the middle of the street. And I felt bad because I didn't want her to see me weak. But there was nothing I could do about it. Let's play, please.
I've been doing this work for over 20 years now, and at times the emotion in the room is just palpable. It's raw. I have felt like I was holding someone's broken heart in my hands. It's been so raw. But part of what I've taken away from this work is the resilience of the human spirit. It is just amazing what we can go through and how we can come through it at the other side and be okay.
Would you say you're better now? Not just a little better, but all better?
Well, I'm not gonna say I'm all better, but I know how to handle PTSD. You never get rid of PTSD. There's no cure for it.
It doesn't sound like your treatment helped your life. It sounds like it gave you your life back.
The day I went to that program till the day is the best years of my life I ever had. I have a life. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm not letting it beat me. You know what I mean? I am doing well than I ever been in my whole 30-something years when I had PTSD. You know what I mean? What more can I say? I'm a happy camper.
Hey, I put in an emergency call, and it wasn't emergency. It was, my counselor had told me if you ever need to talk, Pastor Deron, you can give me a call that's not on the schedule. And I wouldn't make that call. But I made that call last week because here again, I'm going through making a comeback in my mind, in my body, in my spirit. And I had to call and say, hey, can we have a telephone, video conference chat? And part of me was like him, well, she gonna be busy. And she said, sure, I'll call you at such and such time. And she called. And when I talked to her, I shared with her what I was experiencing. And she said, Deron, you have been through a lot. And because she knew the plays and all the things I've done, she says, I'm so grateful. She said, for you to be able to do the things you've done and to have a past like you have and still be able to help others. She said, it's a miracle. And I started crying like you would not believe in that session. And because we're seeing each other, I couldn't even say, I'm sorry. I just started crying and breathing hard. And so, Pepper, we're going to go ahead and push play, but I want you all to understand PTSD and me and loss. It's a lot. Let's play, please.
Senator Robert Antonioni has served in the Massachusetts state legislature for 20 years. For most of that time, he was a very public man with a very private secret.
I think that my struggles with depression began.
Pause. We're going to restart that one again. He was a very public man with a very private situation. And here I was, my life was lived in front of everybody. I learned the term, my life was in a fishbowl. Everybody could see me, but I didn't get to see their lives. And so they could make all kinds of observations and comments about who I should be, what I should do, and what I should have done. But I had to keep this pain within. And although I was public, I wanted my own privacy. And I had to tell people, hey, I got issues myself. I've made a decision that I am, I've been thinking about doing this thing like this for 6 years. And talk about this. Then Corona kicked in, and here I was, a gig person, GIG, and my gift was to bring people in live and say certain things. And I had to make a decision. Deron, you're going to have to confess. And I began to confess to people that I helped disciple, people that I helped teach to become men, people who taught me how to be a man. I began to confess, hey, listen, I'm depressed. I got depression. And I understand depression is when you're doing more thinking about yourself. And depression is something that is really debilitating. Because as much as I wanted to stay on the go and keep moving, I was demotivated. I lost my motivation. And it's when I saw this senator years ago with this confession that he too was depressed. It gave me the permission. He gave me the permission to go to counseling. And that's how I ended up back in the counselor several years ago. And I would just say, I feel so weak that I'm driving all this way to have a conversation with you. I should be able to handle this. I should be able to get over this. And he said to me, you're injured. I had another person say, you've been through the equivalent of 8 divorces emotionally. And I'm afraid the place you're trying to get to is unattainable. I didn't even know what that word meant, unattainable. But he said, you've got to go through this. So Pepper, let's go ahead and play, because this man gave me the permission to take medication. Go.
Senator Robert Antonioni has served in the Massachusetts state legislature for 20 years. For most of that time, he was a very public man with a very private secret.
I think that my struggles with depression began in 1999 when my brother committed suicide. I had all sorts of feelings of guilt, responsibility, neglect that I carried with me. I felt very traumatized with my brother's death. And the way that I dealt with it most often was to remove myself from the normal daily events. And for a politician, that's not a good thing, because politicians don't get elected by removing themselves from the public. They get elected by being in the public. I would frequently go home. I would just curl up and burrow myself in. And I'd sleep, excessively. I frequently would think, I just got to get a hold of myself and stop feeling this way. Real men don't cry. And if you're a real man, you'll get over it. Cut it out, get it together.
Let's pause right there. And you'll take it back just a little bit to catch up with the context of that. I went through that season on many occasions. Duran, get over this, man. Stop being a punk, man. I even use harsher words with myself because I was like, you need to get up, man. You've done all these different things. And you should be able to overcome this and get over this. But God was trying to get me to face it. I had no idea that I'd be doing this kind of exposing of myself emotionally later on. But I had to do the work to get past this, to get over it. Let's go ahead and play, please.
I frequently would think, I just got to get a hold of myself and stop feeling this way. Real men don't cry. And if you're a real man, you'll get over it. Cut it out, get it together. I can remember one day in my office just sitting down crying. And my chief of staff said, Bob, we got to do something about this. That gave me the inclination that something had to be done here. We had to deal with this. Yeah.
He had to deal with it. And I recognized for myself that I too had to deal with it. And I think what happens is, at least from my experience, everybody's got stuff to talk about. And when the point person falls, when the mother who is used to being the type A personality, or the type that everybody goes to, when they falter, when the husband falters, when the father falters, you're trying to boost yourself to get up, but you just can't say words to get past some of these things. This is what you're experiencing. And so with that, I was saying those same words. And I said, I'm going to have to, I hate it. To ask the guy, or the doctor asked me, are you taking anything? I was like, no, because to take something was a failure. And I was like, I know God. I know the Spirit of God. I know the Holy Spirit. The Spirit should get me past this. And I had one of the doctors tell me, he said, I want you to understand. He says, do you take high blood pressure medication? I said, yes. He says, why? I said, because it is, I have it. He says, but you're injured. There's something that's not working properly. He said, it's no different than your brain. And I said, all right. And I don't know if they still make this, but he put me on Wellbutrin. And I didn't tell nobody. I told my wife, because I was afraid of the side effects and all these different things. But I wanted to have my clarity of thought. And listening to this man and what I've done and study, I said, you've got no choice, man. You've got to take this medication. And I chose to do it. Pepper, let's play.
Bob sought the help of a psychotherapist. As he began to talk about the loss of his brother, he discovered something important about himself.
When I began therapy, I found it very hard to talk about what I was feeling because I was not accustomed to doing that. I had never opened up the way that I did with the therapist. Eventually, I came to understand that the hurt and the feelings that I had on a regular basis weren't just related to my brother's death, but that I had an issue with depression.
Pause right there. This past week, I had to realize and acknowledge, and this is why I called my counselor and asked her, could she have a moment with me on a video chat? Because I realized as a teen, I was depressed. As a teenager, I was depressed. And due to some of the things I had experienced and gone through, I was extremely depressed. And I had never equated the stuff I went through with depression. In fact, I became funny to overcome depression. One time I was on the bus, the 32 or the 34, traveling from uptown Wisconsin Avenue and going through Georgetown on that bus. And the bus driver stopped. No, he went to stop, and a homeless man or a mentally disturbed man got on the bus. And all the kids, we was sitting in the back of the bus, the metro. And he got on the bus and he looked and he said, you better stop messing with me. And everybody looking around trying to figure out. And then he made his way directly to the back of the bus. I jumped over by the window and he came in and he beat me with an ashtray. He beat me. I'm talking about he was beating me like a man with an ashtray. I didn't know what was happening. And everybody else, all my friends, we were all in junior high school. And he beat me. And then the bus driver told him, hey, you're going to have to get off this bus. And then he went to get off the bus and he decided he was going to come back again. And I remember the buses back then, I don't know if they have it now, but they had a large window, and I pushed that window open and put my leg out of that bus. And I was halfway out the bus while in Georgetown because I was getting ready to leap off this bus because I was scared. Today is the first day I ever said that. I was scared because here I was being beat up by a grown man who was much stronger than me. And I can't remember whether I jumped off the bus or not, but I can tell you this. My nickname became, or they became to say, hey, you know, kids don't have no, sometimes they don't have compassion. And they began to say, don't make me call the ashtray, man. Don't make me call the ashtray, man. Or they would yell in the hallway, here come the ashtray, man. I was so ashamed. And I didn't understand what was happening. And I was being re-traumatized again. Even my teachers would say, you don't want me to call that ashtray man, do you? And it just got around school and everything. Let's play.
As a senator, Bob began advocating for funds to combat mental illness and prevent suicide. But he hid his own depression from all but a few close friends. Then one day, in 2003, he decided he'd had enough.
I was asked by a local reporter, why was I advocating so much for these things? And I disclosed my brother's passing and how he died by suicide. And the reporter asked, Bob, did you ever suffer from depression? I said that, yes, I have depression. And she said, are you sure you want to say that? And I said, yeah, it's the truth. The day after the story appeared, I went to a big function in Boston. All the political people were there. And I remember walking into that auditorium thinking, what an idiot. Why did I say all that? These people are going to think I'm nuts, you know? Well, let me tell you, as soon as I saw someone who knew me, they came up, hugged me. Bob, I'm so proud of you. I'm so glad you talked about this. Thank God, you know, more people are just running up to me. You know, you'd think I just won the Stanley Cup or something. And, you know, I was really taken aback. I was shocked. And I said, wow, okay, you know, thank you. I didn't know what the reaction would be from the public, but people were like, wow, thank you. You know, I'm so happy that you're talking about this. And it was, the reaction was just unbelievable. It really was. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
Let's stop there. Over the years, people have thanked me for being transparent, keeping it real, and doing that stuff. But it's moments like this. Now, I've already told myself, when you finish this, Deron, you're not going to call yourself an idiot. You're not going to go through, why did you expose yourself like that? And you would have thought I got naked physically, but I got naked emotionally with you all. And I recognized back when I used to teach some of my services or some of the messages, after I finished teaching, I was just a wreck. And I would be like, Deron, why did you share all that? but I was under a mandate to be open and real and talk about what people don't talk about. Keeping it real wasn't a slogan. Keeping it real was saying, hey, we gonna tell the truth. And if you can't take and understand this truth, then maybe you don't want to listen to us. And in the ministry of the Soul Factory and the ministry of the soldier, sold out, living, delivered, and everlasting righteous service. Hopefully right now you're receiving some righteous servings and you are being helped. But if you're going to overcome this dark moment and these dark moments, you're going to have to sit in it and you're going to have to face it. Now I got a team getting ready to come up, but let's go ahead and finish play because I don't know where we at on this. Let's go.
It's not bad to be sad or bad to be angry, but when you are persistently sad over a long period of time and it's not about the moment, it's about something that happened, you know, that's a time when you have to say, well, what's going on with my mind and my body and my spirit?
I remember thinking, I'm having a bad week, you know, and then the bad week turned to a bad month, and then that turned to a bad year, and then it turned into a bad 4 years. And then I remember being absolutely terrified because I thought, have I turned a corner that I will never, ever be able to fix?
The most fascinating thing about depression is that you can't pin it down. You can't say it's just sadness. It's you're saddened by the fact that you're not in control of your thoughts. There's no desire to get out of bed and do things because you're not sure you can do them with any great sense of judgment or without any sense that that'll make you feel better.
Let's stop right there. That's Chevy Chase. I became funny because I was depressed. At my junior high school, I didn't even know anything about yearbooks until I got there. And I won the funniest person the first year I was there. Then that became my goal. If I could become the funniest person, I could alleviate these feelings. And I had to learn how to manage my energy. I didn't call it energy then. I just had to learn how to manage my emotions. Let's keep playing because I'm getting hungry now. Let's go play.
As summer begins, Caitlin is running out of options. She's tried different kinds of medications and therapies, but she isn't getting better.
I would love to not be having the worst summer of my life. I can't get out of bed. If I can get out of bed, maybe I can make it downstairs, but it's not like I want to watch TV all day or sit inside. It's like you want to go outside, you want to be with your friends, you want to be running around, and you can't. It doesn't matter how much you want to, you can't. And it just sucks. It just really does.
Pause. Hey, I'm gonna bring it to a close now. If I get another opportunity to do this, I'll play some more clips. But what got me on that was she said, you wanna get out the bed. You wanna keep moving forward. I had to tell my counselor, and she reminded me. She said, Duran, in one of the sessions, in one of our last 3 sessions we had, you said, I wanna live. I wanted to live. And I didn't want people just calling me to try to get counseling. And I wanted to be able to experience the man I used to be or the new man that I was becoming. And I wanted to get out of the bed. I wanted to go outside. But when you get depressed, you get demotivated. And that's why I'm doing this today, because I'm saying, this is my way to give to some people, some of my brothers and sisters, older, younger, you name it. Hey, what you're going through, you ain't crazy if you're going through something. And thoughts of suicide, saying I could just end this right here. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. Don't you ever think I would take my life. But I ain't gonna tell you, I did not have the thoughts from when I was younger till some other time. That's how serious this thing is. And I wouldn't do it because of my wife, and I wouldn't do it because of my granddaughter. I wouldn't do it because of my daughter, my family. But I wanted to live. And I've chosen to live. So please don't be thrown off by my tears and my emotions, because I've chosen to live. I've chosen to live this life. And COVID, to become socially distant. And I liked being around people at times to social distance myself. I realized before they even talked about the word social distancing, I knew this is airborne. This is before it was put out there and everything. I said, they're not telling us everything, but somehow I'm going to learn how to make it. Now, I ain't been into a grocery store for a year, probably a year and a month or two. I didn't go into any stores because I knew if you're going to live, and what my counselor said to me, she said, Duran, you're a survivor. If you're going to survive, you're going to have to subdue your flesh. And I learned to put my life up under subjection of the Spirit and say, God, help me in my flesh. Help me with my thoughts. I had to be 52 or 53 when I said, I was probably 53, and I said, Duran, you're not leaving this earth with this fear. You're going to overcome it. And my wife says it better, but I had to reframe what I was going through and make the decision I was overcoming this. And I would not be dominated by fear. I had to go do scans, I guess 3 weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago. My sister said she was going to take me. And I didn't have those dark thoughts. It didn't mean I wasn't concerned, but I said, I cannot be dominated by fear anymore. And I overcame it. And I went and I did it, because when I have to take these scans and they put that contrast in me, I have a near-death experience every time. And I did it. I made it through. This is what I submit to you. And my prayer is that I was in some way able to bless you and tell you, you can get up, but you have to master your emotions. And if you haven't, go back and look at our last 2 teachings. If you haven't, go back and look at those. because they're coming from our soul, our heart. And we were talking about Cain and Abel and how it had to be reframed. If you look at one of the scripture, can't remember the character. He said, whatever y'all meant for evil, whatever you meant for evil, God meant for my good. And he had to reframe what was happening. And I've had to reframe to say, God, and I'm just getting it now. This is perfect. And this is perfect because this traumatic experience and everything I did brought me into a place where I'm not ashamed of my tears. I'm not ashamed of my hurt. I'm not ashamed of my vulnerability because I am now living. And because of that, I have broken through. Hey, my wife just came into the room. I'm going to go greet her, and she had her clothes on. I'm going to tell her, hey, listen, I love you. Hey, y'all, I love you, and I beat you to it. I got to go handle some love business at the door and give her a kiss. We do our best to give each other a kiss before we leave the house, and we've been doing that for the last 5-6 years. And that's what I'm going to do now. I love you all, and I pray for your own personal deliverances, and that you too will be able to make it in this season. That was a perfect segue. I love you and I beat you to it. God bless them, and I thank you for them. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you all. Let's go ahead and cut this off, please.